From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parshat Noach, Sin City. If we look at the story of Migdal Bavel, the Tower of Bavel, one of the great primal sins in the book of Breshit, and therefore in some way a root sin at the root of what's wrong with society, what's wrong with man, with the individual. We find something surprising. Usually we call the Tower of Bavel syndrome the Tower of Bavel, the Migdal Bavel, the Tower of Bavel. However, my teacher, Rabbi Yaakov Meidan of Yeshivat Har Etzion, pointed out long ago that actually the story points not just to a tower, but to something else. We see that the people said, Vayomru, the people of Bavel said, Hava, let us, Nivne lanu ir, let us build for ourselves a city. Umigdal v'rosho b'shamayim, and a tower and its head in the heavens. V'naseh lanu shem, we'll make up for ourselves a name. V'nafutz al kupanei kol haaretz, lest we be separated across the land. So we see that it's not just a tower they wanted to build. First of all, they want to build a city. Umigdal, a city and a tower with its head in heaven. So indeed, what was problematic about it? Well, Vayered Hashem, so to speak, came down. Lirot et ha'ir et hamigdal, asher banu bnei adam. He came down to see the city and the tower, which the people had built. First and foremost, he came to see the city, and then the tower. And finally, at the end, it says, Vayachtelu livnot ha'ir. After God confused their tongues, they stopped building the city. The tower is a different matter. Tower is perhaps secondary. The main thing we have here is a city. The tower is secondary to the city. Now, if we ask what was the sin of those who tried to build this tower, we have various theories, and we mentioned in another webcast all kinds of different possibilities. Is it that they were trying to fight against God? Is it that they were trying to avoid punishment? All kinds of theories. But whatever it was, it seems that part of the problem was with the very notion of a city. What is a city supposed to be like? We look in the Gemara, it says that Rav says in the Talmud, there in Shabbat, that kol ir shegarotea gvoim mi beit hakneset sof chariva. Any city whose roofs are higher than the shul, than the Beit Knesset, the synagogue, sof chariva. In the end, it will be destroyed. In other words, a city that thinks that its own house is more important than the house of God, in the end, it will be destroyed. As David understood, his house could not be greater than the house of God. That's a city gone awry, a city whose personal homes are greater than the synagogue. Number two, the Gemara there in Shabbat, in another page, says that Reish Lakish said to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Kachi mikublani avotai, v'amilam avotech. Reish Lakish received this from his ancestors, or Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's ancestors. Kol ir shein batinoga shel Rabban machivin ota, Ravina machivin ota. Any city that does not have children studying Torah, it's destroyed. It's banned. It's not going to survive. A city where children are not growing in their Torah, that's not a city. A good city is a city that they understand that the synagogue is at the pinnacle. A good city is a city that has children learning. A bad city is the opposite. The Gemara in Megillah talks about Asar Batlanim. A city has to have people dedicated to going to shul, people dedicated to learning Torah. Right? That's the idea of what is a city. Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch says, Raphael Hirsch of Germany said, Vayibona'ir. If we look, who was the first one to build a city? Well, not the most illustrious of characters. Cain had a son named Chanoch. Vayibona'ir. Chanoch built a city. And that's not necessarily a positive thing. Samshal Hirsch says there was a new desire, a city, something totally uprooted from our roots, talush min hakarka, uprooted from the ground, left away from God, away from people. The natural inclination was to build a city, to be separated from agricultural life. And this, says Rav Meidan, this is a crime. This is a sin. This is an abrogation. A city should still be connected with the agriculture. When they had a city in Jerusalem, there were kramim, there were vineyards outside. A city was connected with the agriculture on the outside. When a city becomes minutak min hakarka, when it becomes disconnected from the land, this is a problem. We should avoid, says Rav Samshal Hirsch, cities that are detached from the sadot, from the fields. And what happens in cities? We know that Yeshayahu Hanavi speaks of cities. The Tzedek Yalin Ba Vatam Ratzchim. He says, you know what happens to the cities that used to be cities of justice? Ir HaTzedek used to be Jerusalem, and now Miratzchim. Now it's a city of Rotzchim. It's a city of murderers. We have cities of refuge where people who murdered people go. Cities can be something very bad. The Chezkel has a vision of the future. And yes, there are cities. Cities can be good. And V'shem ha'ir miyom Hashem shama. The ultimate goal, the ultimate city, is a city where we know that God is there. That's a city. The people of the Tower of Babel are trying to create a city where they don't need God. In the field, a farmer is naturally a very religious man. He's waiting for the rain. He's waiting for the crops to grow. He has to pray to keep away all the vermin and all the pests that can come and destroy the field. In the city, we're likely to become detached. We're likely to become desensitized to that natural human dependency on God. We become dependent on the choma uvriach, on the various walls that we have around us. As the Jews entered the land of Israel, they knocked down the walls. They said, the walls don't matter. The walls are not what make us safe and secure. We just came off the holiday of Sukkot. In Sukkot, we understand that it's not the walls, it's not the roof that makes you secure, but rather our protection from God. Walls can tumble down. Roofs can cave in, God forbid, on our heads. What's secure is Hashem Shama, that God is there. A city can be a great thing. Jerusalem is the ultimate city that can be. A city can be a place of great justice. A city can also be a place where people of like-minded, lack of righteousness, people who are rotzchim, who are gazlanim, who have an unethical sense, can gather together. And we know from many of our cities what happens, the crumbling of cities, and what happens in inner city life, the homelessness that we see in cities, where the person is, how did this person land out homeless? Where are his connections? Where are his connection to roots to other people? People become so disconnected from each other. They're just numbers of people on the streets, number of people losing their way in life. The story, what is the story of the Tower of Babel? It's not a tower at all. Tower was a manifestation of their trying to be taller than God. But the idea is that what kind of city was it? It was a city where man was trying to crown himself above God. And a real city, a city where we crown God, a city where Hashem Shama, a city where they make a priority of religion, of synagogues, of schools, of children learning. And that type of city, then hopefully Hashem Shama, hopefully God will dwell in our midst. This is the lesson of this, not the Tower of Babel, but the city of Babel. Thank you for joining us here in our discussion of Parshat Noach. You're welcome to see our past archives of various discussions of Parsha and also the holidays as well. And here at the Anshe Sfar Beth Lemeth Congregation, I'm happy to thank Jason Lefkowitz for making our presentation possible. And join us each week again. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.